The apostles have just returned from a long journey, one where they went all over the region proclaiming the good news of God's kingdom come, proclaiming the good news of Jesus. And they healed countless people all along the way. So upon their return, they're pretty spent. They're worn thin, they're pretty burnt out, they need some rest. And Jesus sees this whenever they return, and he invites them to come away with him, to take a break, to withdraw from the chaos for just a little bit, so that they can all find some much needed rest together. The problem was that the apostles were so successful in their preaching and in their journey that they essentially achieved rock star status for Jesus. And a great crowd descends upon Jesus and his apostles like hippies at Woodstock. And these people, they intuit where it is that Jesus is going to take the disciples, take them for their place of rest. Dang hippies. So this needy group, they know where the disciples and where Jesus are going, and they rush to that quiet, secluded, peaceful place ahead of them. And just as soon as Jesus and the apostles get off of the boat, they are smothered by this clingy, demanding crowd. It's not going to be such a restful day after all. Now, if you're like me, you immediately begin to read your own experiences into this story as you hear it being told. You begin to say things like this to yourself. Don't these selfish people have any boundaries? Jesus and his disciples, well, they're human too, right? Why not just let them rest for just a little bit even before you come clawing for their attention, before you come pestering them? How would you like it if someone came and pestered you with all of their life's problems when all you wanted to do is just rest for a little bit? This story is designed to poke us. It's designed to provoke this exact sort of reaction from us. But within that provocation, it also has a way of reeling us in, hook, line, and sinker, because not only does it ruffle us, but it also begs a question. And the question is this: what would you do in this situation? What if you were one of these people stepping off of the boat? What if it was you who desperately needed rest? What if it was you being smothered by this needy crowd? More to the point, this whole passage begs the question, what do you do in situations like this in your own life, where you are spent and those around you, they're not acknowledging just how much they are depleting what little energy you have left in the tank? How do you respond when all of your important plans are suddenly interrupted? How do you handle being inconvenienced by others, by life in general? Whenever it's been a long, stressful, and agitating day, how do you react whenever the kids or the grandkids come in, wanting to play with you, when all you want to do is veg out on the couch and zone out and rest? How do you react? When your entire life is a raging dumpster fire and you have enough problems of your own to worry about, thank you very much, how do you react whenever a friend or a family member calls you on the phone, wanting to vent to you about their own problems? How do you respond? Or whenever an entire planet, an entire globe is suffering under the weight of a global pandemic, are you more upset that billions of people are suffering and dying? Is that how you react? Or are you more upset that your church is closed and you feel inconvenienced and that you can't go to Applebee's without having to wear a mask? How do you react? Are you more upset by the fact that other people are suffering? Or are you more upset that their suffering has inconvenienced your life. Rather than feeling inconvenienced, disturbed, rather than shooing these needy people away, we are told that Jesus was moved with compassion for them. He lets them interrupt all of his plans for rest, and he takes the time to teach and to heal all of them. And Jesus didn't just begrudgingly do this either, right? He didn't just respond to the moment as if it was an obligation placed upon him. The nuances of the original language actually specify that Jesus actually felt it. He felt compassion all the way down to the core of him. And even though the crowd had no sense whatsoever of his need, he fully sensed their need. So again, the question, how do you react whenever all of your important plans for yourself are interrupted? How do you handle being inconvenienced? These questions are so important because how we answer them will reveal precisely just how much we have let Jesus heal us or not heal us. They reveal whether or not we're actually maturing in the faith or whether we're still pretty infantile. Now, before we start beating ourselves up here, as we realize that compassion is probably not our go-to response when it comes to the things of life, let's give ourselves some grace. Perhaps we've not received the depth of healing that we need, not because the medicine has been unavailable to us, but perhaps it's because we've never been properly instructed in how to take it to begin with. In a moment, I'm going to invite you, wherever you are, to simply sit in silence before God. Don't try to pray. Don't try anything, really. More times than not, we pray best whenever we actually stop trying to pray. And it's important, don't try to push your mind in any one direction. Don't attempt to conjure up thoughts to think about. Just let yourself be. And the only instruction I'm giving you here is, as you let yourself be in this silence, simply observe each thought as it spontaneously arises in your mind. In other words, sit in silence and just watch your thoughts as they pop up. Our time of silence begins now. Come out of your silence. Come back to my voice. Come back to me. There are many people who have told me over the years that they really suck at doing contemplative prayer. Well, if that's you and that's the type of thing that you would say, I gotta tell you, you just did it. And you did great. Congratulations. What you just did is like 99% of contemplative prayer. So anybody can do it. Anyone can sit still before the Lord just for a little bit and observe their thoughts. That's what contemplative prayer is. But there's an important question to follow up from this. Did you let yourself chase these thoughts that popped up in your head? Did you run from them? Did you remain neutral? How did you react to them? However many they were, whether it was one or many thoughts. Did you ever, at any point during that time of silence, did you ever go from being an observer of your thoughts to a participant in them? Did they reel you in? Did you get wrapped up enough in these thoughts that they began to poke at you emotionally? Did they make you feel something? Did they take you out of the silence and make you feel something? Or did you remain neutral, detached from them emotionally? More importantly, did you let them interrupt your stillness? Did you let them inconvenience your inner silence? Or did you let your silence teach and heal them? My friends, Christian spirituality, it's not about repressing our thoughts, nor is it about chasing our thoughts either. It's about simply observing them and letting them go. It's about making peace with our thoughts, because God has already made peace with our thoughts. It's about learning to no longer let our thoughts be a barrier between us and God as we pray by not making such a big deal of them. It's about learning how to stop reacting impulsively to any and every thought that crosses our mind. Whenever we pray in this way, and all prayer should eventually lead us to the height of contemplative prayer. It's really the highest form of prayer. Whether we're here in the sanctuary or we're doing devotionals at home or we're on a walk, we really should come to that place of contemplative prayer. But whenever we pray in this way, we eventually come to the point where we realize that the things that would have normally triggered us in the past, things like interruptions and the inconveniences of life, these things are diffused within us before they ever become a thing. And we cooperate with God's grace whenever we quit blowing our thoughts all out of proportion, whenever we realize that we don't have to let them reel us in as much as they do and trigger us. Now, my friends, connect some dots here with me. Draw aside the curtain with me for a moment as we close and enter into the Holy of Holies of this gospel reading, because it is spectacular. Look at the reading again. Think of the story again. Whenever a crowd of needy thoughts tries to smother us, we shouldn't shoo away this needy crowd. Even though these thoughts stand between you and the rest that Jesus is inviting you into, it is always wisest to treat them with compassion. And all you need to do is step off of the boat and onto that beach and teach them with your silence. Heal them with your silence. And the day will come, one day, when you will step off of that boat, only to discover that those clingy, needy thoughts that would normally crowd your mind, they're no longer there. Why? Because whenever the crowd of thoughts finds its healing, it no longer has any reason to interrupt your rest. All that will be left on that day is impenetrable, uninterrupted silence. All that will be left on that day is the rest that you will feel in Jesus' invitation to rest. And nothing will disturb your rest. Nothing will rob you of your compassion. You will feel it all the way down, as Jesus does. So if you treat your thoughts as compassionately as Jesus treated that crowd, soon enough you will find yourself treating the people around you just as compassionately as you treat your own thoughts, as compassionately as you treat yourself.